Hi guys, it's Miss Alyssa,
And Mr. Connor again.
and we're so excited that you guys decided to tune in for yet another week of learning about Jesus. We hope you had a great Easter weekend and were able to celebrate with your families, although it might have looked a little differently. We still hope that you were able to celebrate Jesus rising from the dead. And when Jesus rose from the dead, like what we talked about last week, it gave the opportunity of this new life for us as people. And speaking of new life, we're going to go way back to the beginning of the Bible and talk about the creation of life. And this week, Mr. Connor is going to talk to us about that.
Yes, I'm going to do your lesson today because I'm going to do a drawing and I like to draw. So we're going to go through that together. So let's see who knows the first day of creation. And if you know it, it's let there be light. So that was the first one. And I can't draw that. I don't know how to draw light very well. So we're just going to say that one. But on the second day, God said, let there be a space between the water of earth and heaven. And what God means by that, let me show you. God was saying, let there be sky, and here are my little clouds. And then on the third day, God said, let the waters beneath the sky flow together into one place so that ground may appear. So then on the third day, God made the water divide the land, and when the water flowed, it made rivers and seas. And then when he divided the land also, and made the ground and the earth, it created plants. So there's my little plants and my sea and my rivers and my land. And then on the fourth day, God said, let lights appear in the sky to separate the day and the night. And so I bet you guys can guess what that means. So what God was saying was that he made the sun, the moon, and the stars. That one's easy to draw. So there's my sun and moon and stars. And I know you guys are probably smart and you know that the sun and the moon and the stars rarely show up at the same time together in the sky, but I'm just going to draw it that way so you guys can see it all. And then on the fifth day, we get to some animals. And I know you guys like animals. You've told me that before. And then so God said on the fifth day, let the waters be full of fish and other life, and let the skies be filled with birds of every kind. So let's do some birds here and some fish. Did my bird, and now I'll do my fish here. Here are my little orange birds and my little pink fish jumping out of the water there. And then on the sixth day, God said, let the earth produce all sorts of animals on land, each producing their own offspring. And so by that, he meant all the animals that live on land. So I know you guys know lots of those. There's like cows and pigs and sheep and horses, and I bet some of you have dogs and cats, those too. So let's make something here. Drew a little pig over here. That's what I decided to make. right over here. And then, so those are the first 6 days of creation, and that's all we're going to be talking about today. But if you tune into our little lesson next week, we're going to talk about what God made on the last day, which is his favorite thing that he did, and it's very important, so you guys should come back and find out what we're going to talk about then. So that's the end of our lesson, but I did have a little game I wanted to do between Miss Alyssa and I, and we're going to try to play that here. Now, what we're going to do is, when I talked on the 4th day of creation, we talked about the fish and the birds that God made on the earth. So what we're going to do is we're going to time each other here, and Miss Alyssa is going to see how many fish she can name in 30 seconds. And then I'm going to go after that. I'm going to see how many birds I can name in 30 seconds. So we're going to see who wins. Yeah, we're going to do 30 seconds.
Oh, wow.
So let me get a timer going so we can judge each other here.
If you guys remember the first week, Mr. Connor and I were saying we've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. If you guys have heard of that game, so hopefully fishing and Animal Crossing will help me. Otherwise, I'm going to be a little stuck here.
Okay, Miss Alyssa's going to go first. Just name as many fish that she can. So I'm going to keep track here. Okay. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, ready, set, go.
There's a trout, there's a golden trout, a salmon, a cherry salmon, sea bass, black bass, betta fish, clownfish, butterfly fish, olive flounder, dab, goldfish, bullseye goldfish, whatever that's called, tadpole.
No, that's an amphibian.
Oh no, I'm drawing a blank. A
Stop.
bluegill. Oh no!
Let's count it up here.
A tadpole. You guys probably even know a tadpole is not a fish.
Okay, she got 13.
All right.
So we'll see how I do. I'm not sure I can do any better than that, but
All right, Mr. Connor has to name as many fish as he can.
am I doing birds?
Or birds.
I could just steal all
No,
the fish.
do birds. All right, ready? Sit, go.
Okay, hawk, falcon, flamingo, robin, sparrow, chickadee, blue jay, cardinal, an osprey, an eagle, an egret, a crane, a ostrich, oh no, I'm running out of ideas. Let's see. A crow and a raven.
Okay, if you didn't hear that, our mom totally cheated and gave him an extra one. But I'll give it to him. Mr. Connor got 15. He beat me by 2.
Oh, I still would have won even.
Oh, okay. So that's something fun that you guys can do at your house if you guys want to try to name as many fish you can, as many animals, just in general. Try to think about all of the many God's creations that he's made for us.
All right, and now we're going to let Miss Alyssa do the craft today, so we're going to go into that next.
All right, guys, so now we're going to get into our craft about creation, and we've got a pretty fun thing for you to do that you should have almost all the materials at your home already, so you don't have to worry about that, but we also have some alternative materials if you want to get even more crafty, but either way, everyone should be able to do this. So we figured out a fun way for you guys to remember all the days of the creation, well, all 6 that we talked about today, and so let's get into that. So here I have all the materials that you definitely will need, and then here are some optional materials that we'll talk about later. So everything that you definitely will need are 6 paper plates, some glue, like I use this tacky glue, it's craft, but you can just use your bottles of Elmer glue, scissors, crayons, and markers. And then your optionals here, which we'll talk more about later, are construction paper, cotton balls, and pipe cleaners. So for your first paper plate, you're going to make light and darkness to resemble your first day of creation, which was when God said, and let there be light. So I just did something really simple here as I took my crayons and I colored yellow for the sun and I colored black for darkness. So that's your first day. Your second day is the sky or like the atmosphere. And so what I did here is I colored my plate with my blue crayon, and I used these optional cotton balls and glued those to show clouds, and I also used yarn for water, but if you don't have those two things, you can just color it like around white for clouds, and you can also just use a blue marker for the water. So that's your second day. Your third paper plate will be for day 3, which is lands, plants, and trees. You can kind of get creative with what you want to do here, but I decided to do some flowers. And that's where, if you guys want, you can use these pipe cleaners. I use the pipe cleaners to do a stem and a little flower. But again, if you don't have that, you can just use your markers and crayons for that. So there's your day 3. Day 4 is the sun, the moon, and the stars. Another simple one to do here. So what we have here is just the markers for the brightness of the sun. And then if you like kind of split it in half here, like when you see a crescent moon, and you can just color that gray or black or anything like that. And we also found some pretty cool star stickers. But again, if you don't have something like that, you can just draw your stars in as best as you can. So your 5th paper plate is what you'll need your scissors for, and you're gonna cut a plate in half. So you get 2 halves like this for the birds in the sky and the fish in the sea. Isn't this so cute? So you'll take a plate like this, and you just cut like right in half to get you these 2 shapes right here. So here's my fish, colored it orange. I gave it some scales, and if for optional use, you can find construction paper to make a fin and a tail. But again, if you don't have that, you can easily just draw that with a marker. And same thing with my bird here. I used construction paper for its wings and for its tails and its beak. But again, you can just draw that in if you want to. So there's your day 5. And finally, for what we talked about, day 6, animals. So we have a pig here, like how Mr. Connor drew his pig in his drawing. Draw whatever animal you want though, maybe your favorite animal, maybe one that you want to see, or like something that you like seeing at the zoo, but anything to resemble that. And so on day 6, it wasn't just animals were created, another thing was created on day 6, and we're going to be talking about that more next week. It's probably God's most important creation, so make sure you tune in next week so we can talk about that.
So we hope you enjoyed our lesson and our game and our craft about Genesis, but we're not done yet, so we're going to go back to Genesis next week, so make sure to come back and see us then. So we'll hopefully see you guys for our next lesson, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.
And on the 6th day, God created land animals and people.